His name is Marvin. He is 74 years old, a retired postal worker from a quiet suburb in Ohio. For most of his adult life, Marvin stuck to a simple but powerful habit: walking, rain or shine. He was out the door by 6:30 in the morning, taking the same familiar loop around his neighborhood. He swore it was the secret to his good health. "Motion is lotion," he would say, with a proud grin, waving to neighbors as he passed. And truth be told, he had every reason to believe that. For decades, Marvin avoided the health scares that sidelined many of his friends. No strokes, no heart problems, and only the occasional bout of back stiffness. But then one morning last fall, everything changed. It was a crisp October morning. The trees were shedding their leaves. The air smelled of wood smoke and distant rain. Marvin, wearing his usual windbreaker and sneakers, stepped out as he always had. He reached the bottom step of his porch, then shifted his weight to step onto the walkway. That was when it happened. He did not trip on a branch. He did not slip on ice. There was no dog or neighbor in his path. What brought him down was something far more subtle and far more dangerous. A small misstep, a moment of imbalance, a poorly executed turn. As he pivoted too tightly on one foot, Marvin fell hard. Landing on his left side, he felt a sharp, blinding pain shoot up from his hip. By the time his wife came running out, he could barely move. At the hospital, the X-rays confirmed the worst: a fractured femoral neck, commonly known as a broken hip. Surgery was required, followed by 3 weeks in a rehabilitation facility. Marvin went from walking confidently to using a walker, then a cane, and wondering if he would ever get back to the walks he loved. His doctors were clear: the fall was not bad luck, it was biomechanics. Marvin had slowly developed poor walking habits over time, habits that subtly shifted his center of gravity, weakened his posture, and put dangerous stress on his joints. The same habits he believed were harmless had, in fact, made him vulnerable. And the scariest part, he never saw it coming. So, here is the question I want you to ask yourself right now. Are you or someone you love making the same silent mistakes Marvin made? Are you walking with your head down, turning too tightly, ignoring that slight unsteadiness because you think, "It is just age catching up with me"? Because the truth is, most falls that send older adults to the emergency room do not happen because of icy sidewalks or bad shoes. They happen because of habits. Habits that develop so gradually you do not even notice them. And once they take hold, they chip away at your strength, your balance, and your independence. But it does not have to be that way. That fall changed Marvin's life. Yes, but not in the way you might think. During recovery, he worked with a physical therapist who showed him that walking is not just about movement, it is about technique. With guidance, Marvin relearned how to hold his posture, where to place his feet when turning, and when to scan the path ahead instead of staring down at his shoes. Today, Marvin is walking again, not quite at 6:30 in the morning, and not quite as fast, but he is back on his route, wiser, stronger, and more balanced than before. So let Marvin's story be a quiet alarm, a reminder that even something as basic as walking can become dangerous when we stop paying attention. Now, I want to hear from you. Scroll down and leave a full sentence in the comments. Tell me what Marvin's story made you think about. Your comment is more than just feedback. It helps this message reach others who may not realize what is silently weakening their strength. Let your words be the reason someone else stops and pays attention. Most people think walking is simple. After all, it is something we have been doing since childhood. But as we age, the way we walk begins to change in subtle but critical ways. For adults over the age of 70, these small changes can add up to something far more serious: a loss of balance, confidence, and independence. The good news is that most of these risks are not due to aging alone. They are due to habits, and habits can be changed. Let us look at the three most dangerous habits that older adults often develop when walking, and how to correct each one before it leads to a fall. Dangerous habit number 1: walking with your head down. Many older adults walk with their head down. They do this out of caution, wanting to watch for cracks in the sidewalk, uneven terrain, or other trip hazards. Others look down because of neck pain or spinal stiffness. This instinct may feel protective, but it can actually increase your risk of falling. Here is what happens when you walk with your head constantly tilted downward. Your head, which weighs about 20 pounds, pulls your upper body forward. This shift moves your center of gravity ahead of your base of support. In other words, your body weight is no longer balanced over your feet. Instead, it is leaning forward, making it harder to recover if you lose your footing. Research published in Gait and Posture Journal in 2019 supports this. The study found that older adults who consistently walked while looking down had a 35% reduction in their ability to recover from unexpected obstacles. The forward tilt not only altered their posture, but also reduced their reaction time. In addition, when the head tilts down, the upper back often rounds forward to compensate. This exaggerated spinal curve further throws off balance and creates additional strain on the lower back and hips. Over time, this posture becomes the new normal one that is harder to correct and more likely to lead to falls. What is the solution? The goal is not to stop looking at the ground entirely. Instead, develop a habit called scanning. With scanning, you briefly glance down every few steps to check your path. Then lift your eyes and head to look forward again. It requires a bit of conscious effort at first, but it becomes automatic with practice. Think of it as how a driver scans the road, not just the car in front, but also the road ahead. By alternating your gaze, you maintain awareness of your surroundings without throwing your posture out of alignment. This technique helps keep your spine upright, your balance centered, and your movement more fluid. It may seem like a small shift, but it can have a dramatic impact on how stable and confident you feel while walking. Dangerous habit. Number 2, refusing to use a cane or walker when you actually need one. There is a deep stigma around using a cane or walker. Many older adults resist them because they believe it makes them look weak, dependent, or old. Unfortunately, this mindset often leads to a far worse outcome: walking less, avoiding outings, or worse, falling and ending up in the hospital. Barbara, a 72-year-old woman featured in one of the uploaded documents, serves as a perfect example. She began to slow down in her daily walks, not because she lacked time, but because she was afraid of losing her balance, even though her legs felt unsteady. She refused to use any device for fear of how others might perceive her. As a result, she moved less and less, and her muscles gradually weakened. Her story is not unique. Many older adults end up in the same cycle. Fear leads to inactivity. Inactivity leads to weakness, and weakness increases fall risk. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention reports that the proper use of mobility aids such as canes and walkers can reduce the risk of falls by up to 40%. That is a staggering number for something as simple as adding a point of contact with the ground. So, how can you know if it is time to use an assistive device? Try this simple test. Think about how you feel when pushing a shopping cart at the grocery store. Do you feel more stable and confident with your hands on the cart? If the answer is yes, your body is telling you something. It feels safer with more support. That support can come from a well-fitted cane or walker, which allows you to walk farther and more freely without fear of falling. And here is another important point. Using a walker does not mean you will always need one. In many cases, mobility aids allow you to move more, which strengthens your muscles and improves your balance over time. Several patients have been able to start with a walker, transition to a cane, and eventually walk without support. The key is to see a cane or walker not as a sign of failure, but as a tool for rebuilding strength and staying active. The right support can give you the freedom to move again. Dangerous habit. Number 3. Turning by crossing one foot over the other. Turning seems like a basic movement. You want to change direction, so you pivot. But here is the mistake many older adults make. They cross one foot over the other when turning, especially in tight spaces. This action may feel natural, but it is one of the most dangerous movements for older adults. Crossing your feet while turning causes your legs to overlap, which significantly reduces your base of support. At the same time, your body's weight is shifting. If anything interrupts that movement, a slippery floor, a loose rug, or a moment of dizziness, you are far more likely to fall. A landmark study in the United Kingdom examined video footage from 11 long-term care facilities. The researchers reviewed over 200 documented falls and discovered that in approximately 80% of the cases, the individual had crossed one leg over the other while turning. The movement caused a brief but critical moment of imbalance, leading to a fall that could have been avoided. What is the safer way to turn? It is called the open step turn. Instead of crossing your legs, you lead the turn with the foot on the side you are turning toward. If you are turning left, your left foot should step slightly in that direction, followed by your right foot never crossing over. This keeps your feet apart and your base of support stable throughout the turn. It is helpful to practice turning slowly and consciously at first. Set up a small area in your home where you can practice turning both left and right using this wider, safer step pattern. With enough repetition, it will become your natural way to move. By correcting these 3 habits: scanning while walking, using support when needed, and turning with stable steps, you can dramatically reduce your fall risk, improve your posture, and regain your confidence. Walking is not just about putting one foot in front of the other. It is about how you do it. And with the right awareness, every step can become safer, stronger, and more stable. 6 months. That is how long it took Marvin to recover from the fall that fractured his hip. It was not easy. The first few weeks were painful, and there were days when he questioned whether he would ever walk normally again. But Marvin was not one to quit. He committed himself fully to the rehabilitation plan laid out by his physical therapist. The first thing they worked on was posture specifically, lifting the head and aligning the spine. Marvin practiced scanning techniques, alternating his gaze between the ground and the horizon to keep his balance centered. His therapist showed him how even a 2-second glance forward could correct the tilt of his torso and improve stability. Next came mobility aids. Marvin had never imagined himself using a cane, but instead of fighting it, he embraced it. With the cane in hand, he could walk farther without fear. That boost in confidence allowed him to leave the house more often and re-engage with his routine. As his legs regained strength, the cane became less necessary. Today, Marvin walks 2 miles every morning, just like he used to. Only now, he does it with better form and more awareness than ever before. He also learned how to turn safely. No more crossing one foot over the other. Instead, he practiced wide, open step turns that kept his feet apart and his body weight evenly distributed. It became second nature. These small adjustments made consistently transformed Marvin's gait, posture, and balance. But the most important transformation was not physical. It was emotional. After his fall, Marvin spent several weeks feeling isolated. He missed chatting with neighbors during his walks. He missed feeling capable. That loneliness is something many older adults experience. In fact, a report from the National Academies of Sciences, Engineering, and Medicine found that more than 1/3 of adults over the age of 65 are socially isolated. This isolation is not just about emotions. It has been linked to a 29% increased risk of heart disease and a 32% increased risk of stroke. Marvin's story could have ended there in silence and recovery, but instead, he found a way to reconnect, not just with his body, but with his world. He returned to his morning walks. He rebuilt confidence, and most importantly, he proved to himself that change is possible at any age. The lesson here is simple but powerful. Improving how you walk can do more than prevent falls. It can protect your independence, restore your dignity, and reduce the risk of emotional and social isolation. These changes are not about vanity or performance. They are about survival and quality of life. Now, it is your turn. Take a moment right now and think honestly about your walking habits or those of someone you love. Do you or they tend to look down at the ground the entire time? Do you feel hesitant when turning in tight spaces? Is there a reluctance to use a cane or walker, even if it would bring more stability? If any of these patterns sound familiar, it is time to stop and reassess. Not tomorrow, not next week, today. Because here is the truth. The majority of falls are preventable, according to the Disease Control and Prevention. More than 36 million older adults fall each year in the United States, and over 32,000 of those falls result in death. That is not just a statistic. That is someone's spouse, parent, or friend. A small change in habit could be the difference between a steady step and a broken hip. So, what can you do right now to protect yourself or your loved ones? First, examine your posture. The next time you walk, practice scanning. Look down briefly, then lift your eyes and head. Keep your shoulders back and your spine tall. Second, observe how you turn. Are you crossing your legs? If so, stop. Practice wide, deliberate turns where your feet remain separate. Third, test your stability. Push a shopping cart in the store and pay attention to how you feel. If you notice significantly more control or comfort, consider trying a cane or walker at home. It is not a sign of weakness. It is a sign of wisdom. Finally, start a conversation. Ask your family members to observe your walk, or record a short video of yourself walking across the room. You may notice small habits: slouching, shuffling, hesitating when turning that you were not aware of. Awareness is the first step toward change. And remember, you do not need to change everything at once. One small change, one improvement in posture, one better turn, one acceptance of assistance can lead to big results over time. Now, I would like to hear from you. Have you or someone close to you ever experienced a fall while walking? Leave a comment below sharing what happened or what changes you are making to stay safe. Your story might help someone else who is struggling in silence. Also, do not forget to subscribe to this channel. We provide practical, research-based advice for adults over 60 who want to stay strong, independent, and informed. Click the subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss a helpful update. Because your health is not just about avoiding illness, it is about staying connected, mobile, and confident. Let today be the day you stop walking on autopilot and start walking with purpose.